Trevor Milton, the founder of Nikola, who was called the second Elon Musk by the media at the time, started by promising to produce electric trucks. In January 2017, Nikola unveiled a finished electric truck, as usual on a big round stage in the style of Tesla and Apple. Nikola Motors Twitter, which promoted the event, emphasized that the truck was already fully ready for operation. Journalists were allowed to sit inside and press the buttons. During the presentation, Trevor especially highlighted the convenient touchscreens in the cabin. In reality, of course, that was simply the only part of the truck that actually worked. But not from the electric motor inside, but from regular wires run under the stage. In reality, the company didn't have any manufacturing facilities at all. To make this truck prototype, several Nikola employees went to a regular hardware store. Inside the frame, there was nothing but comfortable seats and a couple of tablets in the dashboard. The company had already started taking pre-orders at $375,000 each. They stated that Nikola 1 was developed, tested, and is now being launched into mass production. Nikola Motors itself initially consisted only of Trevor, his friends, and his father. Then they hired a few dozen more people who were mainly engaged in marketing, social media, order processing, and website support. Most of them didn't know that there was no production team in their company. Time passed, and the hype from the January event was fading. Distrust was growing. People were starting to have questions. They needed to show something new. And so, at the beginning of 2018, a video finally appeared. The Nikola 1 truck, cheerfully driving through the desert. The funny thing was, they just towed the truck to the top of a hill and let it roll back down. They had to tape one of the truck's doors with adhesive tape so it wouldn't come off. No wonder everyone who worked on the video had to sign a so-called non-disclosure agreement. They just bought the 3D model of the semi-truck from a designer in Croatia for a couple of $1,000s. And then they filed a lawsuit against Tesla for $2 billion, claiming that Tesla violated their patents and stole their intellectual property. Of course, they lost the lawsuit, but the media had already spread the news, and some of the public was left with the opinion that there's no smoke without fire. A year after showing the video with Nikola, the company announced that they would be installing hydrogen stations for refueling electric vehicles all across America. Trevor said in an interview that previously people were thinking too narrowly. In reality, Nikola is primarily an energy company like Shell or BP, not an automaker. Their global goal is to change the entire energy market. Trevor's younger brother, who used to work in construction before joining Nikola, was responsible for the innovative hydrogen technologies. The head of infrastructure, responsible for building hydrogen stations, was previously a manager at a golf club in Idaho. After it was noted that refueling a car with hydrogen costs 3 times more than charging it with electricity, and that building such stations was pointless, Trevor quickly gave an interview and said that Nikola's unique technology would make hydrogen production incredibly cheap. Less than $3 per kilogram. 81% cheaper than what others can do. Once again, his younger brother achieved a major scientific breakthrough within the company. In November 2019, Nikola announced that it had solved one of the main problems facing green energy, a high-density battery. It developed a prototype that provides 4 times the energy density of standard lithium-ion batteries. And it's capable, for example, of powering a Tesla Model S for more than 900 kilometers. At the same time, Nikola had no patents, no engineers, no chemists, and no published scientific papers. In reality, it bought the battery manufacturer ZEPCO for $56 million and hyped up its carbon-ion battery technology, claiming that it would soon change the world. The funny thing is that ZEPCO didn't have any technology at all. It was a scam within a scam. At the same time, in November 2019, he cashed out $70 million and bought the most expensive house in Utah, a mansion for $33 million on a ranch covering 1,100 hectares. Basically, Trevor's scheme is pretty simple. Loud statements that attract a couple of interested partners. Then he uses the fact of having such a partnership to attract investors. Then he shows how many investors he has to attract other partners, and uses their brands to get even more investors. And so it goes in circles. If at some point the scheme starts to falter, He makes even bolder claims or releases a video about an allegedly completed project on his own YouTube channel, where at its peak, he was posting videos almost every month. After hyping up the public with promises, on June 4, 2020, the company went public with an IPO, through a process known as a reverse merger, which allowed it not to disclose its numbers. At first, it was valued at $15 billion. But in 2 weeks, by June 19, the shares had doubled in price. The company reached a valuation of $34 billion. In September, General Motors acquired a stake in the company for $2 billion. The price was very favorable. For that amount of money, they were given as much as 11% of the shares. In response to such generosity, GM committed to manufacturing Nikola trucks, which Nikola continued to actively sell to customers through its website. It all ended with several investment funds that had invested in his company filing a lawsuit against Nikola, claiming that Nikola had made false statements about its technology. The trial lasted almost a year, and finally, in July 2021, a federal jury found Trevor Milton guilty on 3 counts, including deceiving investors and committing wire fraud. As a result, Trevor was released on bail set at $100 million. At the trial, he pleaded not guilty and said he hadn't done anything illegal. Trevor still retains a 20% stake in the company. In his own words, he voluntarily stepped down as the CEO of the company so it could focus on future projects. Nikola is still on the market. Valued at about $5 billion, its shares are still trading. And to this day, he remains a free man and a billionaire. Nikola, as they cheerfully say about themselves, continues to move forward under new leadership. Recently, reports emerged that the company has reached a settlement agreement with regulators by paying $125 million to the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. The company is demanding reimbursement of this fine and legal costs from Milton, who still remains its largest shareholder. It is stated that the company is not backing down from its commitments and promises to deliver the first 25 electric trucks to customers in the U.S. by the end of this year, or next year, depending on how things go, since promises can be made almost endlessly. What this exaggerated story has to do with other, more well-known companies on the market is something everyone can decide for themselves. Maybe this is really a good example of how you can build a big company and a famous brand from scratch, so to speak. A role model? Or is this just an extreme example that the real economy is no longer needed by anyone? When there's nothing, you can promise anything you want. A new era, miracles, any rate of return you want. Lying is no longer considered a crime. Now it's called a personal opinion. Let's discuss it in the comments. Thank you for watching, for giving the episode a fair rating, and see you on our channel.